From a flicker of candlelight in 1789 to the glare of modern screens in the West Wing, every president has held the pen. Executive orders not passed by Congress, but etched into law by command. Some shaped history. Some sparked controversy. Others were forgotten. Until now. This is where we break them down. Every signature, every shift in power, every consequence still felt today. From Washington to Biden, welcome to Executive Order Watch.
Democracy, we live for it. For democracy, we fight for it. For democracy, we've died for it. And for democracy, we watch it. This is Executive Order Watch.
My fellow Americans, the year was 1976, our nation's bicentennial. 200 years since our founding fathers declared independence, and I had the honor and burden of leading this great nation through that historic moment. It was more than a celebration. It was a test of whether we, the people, still held firm to the principles of liberty, unity, and justice. We were a country still recovering from the deep wounds of Watergate. Trust in government had been shaken to its core. I did not ask for the presidency, but I accepted its weight with the understanding that the American people needed healing, not politics. That year, I remained steadfast in restoring transparency, decency, and a sense of moral leadership to the Oval Office. The Cold War still loomed large. We continued the process of détente with the Soviet Union while reaffirming our alliances in Europe and Asia. The Helsinki Accords, signed a year prior, began to bear fruit as human rights discussions took center stage globally. At home, economic inflation was still a challenge, but we took necessary steps to rein in government spending and push for more responsible budgeting. 1976 was also an election year. I faced a hard-fought primary against Ronald Reagan and eventually ran against Jimmy Carter. Though I did not win re-election, I stood by my record. I offered honesty over ambition and principle over popularity. As president, I governed with the Constitution in one hand and the hopes of the American people in the other. My administration was marked by steady, responsible leadership, grounded not in grand gestures, but in a sincere effort to restore faith in our institutions. Now, as we continue our exploration of history, it's time to take a closer look at the executive orders issued during that pivotal year. These orders, though often overlooked, carried the weight of decision-making in moments both urgent and delicate. They reflected not only my priorities, but the pulse of the nation in 1976. Let's take a look. Executive Order 11,894. Adding to the membership of the East-West Foreign Trade Board on January 3, 1976. Executive Order 11,895. Delegating authority of the President to designate individuals appointed by the President to receive training on January 5, 1976. Executive Order 11,896, establishing the United States Sinai Support Mission on January 13, 1976. Executive Order 11,897, amending Executive Order number 11,157 as it relates to special pay while on sea duty or duty at certain places on January 13, 1976. Executive Order 11,898, amending Executive Order number 11,861 as amended, placing certain positions in levels 4 and 5 of the executive schedule on January 14, 1976. Executive Order 11,899, providing for the protection of certain civil service employment rights of federal personnel who leave federal employment to be employed by tribal organizations pursuant to the Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act on January 22, 1976. Executive Order 11,900 inspection of income, estate, and gift tax returns by the Committee on Government Operations, House of Representatives on January 22, 1976. Executive Order 11,901, amending Executive Order Number 11,491, as amended by Executive Orders 11,616, 11,636, and 11,838 relating to labor management relations in the federal service on January 30th, 1976. Executive Order 11,902 procedures for an export licensing policy as to nuclear materials and equipment on February 2nd, 1976. Executive Order 11,903 membership of the Economic Policy Board on February 2, 1976. Executive Order 11,904 establishing the Defense Superior Service Medal on February 6, 1976. Executive Order 11,905 United States Foreign Intelligence Activities on February 18, 1976. Executive Order 11,906 amending the Generalized System of Preferences on February 26, 1976. Executive Order 11,907 relating to the administration of the Export Administration Act of 1969 on March 1, 1976. Executive Order 11,908 amending Executive Order Number 11,861 as amended, placing certain positions in levels 4 and 5 of the executive schedule on March 18, 1976. Executive Order 11,909. Exemption of Walter C. Sauer from mandatory retirement on March 31, 1976. Executive Order 11,910. Delegating legal services functions pursuant to the Disaster Relief Act of 1974 on April 13, 1976. Executive Order 11,911. Preservation of endangered species on April 13, 1976. Executive Order 11,912. Delegation of authorities relating to energy policy and conservation on April 13, 1976. Executive Order 11,913. Collection of information for import relief and adjustment assistance on April 26, 1976. Executive Order 11,914. Non-discrimination with respect to the handicapped in federally assisted programs on April 28, 1976. Executive Order 11,915, abolishing the Energy Research and Development Advisory Council on May 10, 1976. Executive Order 11,916, amending Executive Order Number 11,649, regulations governing the seals of the President and the Vice President of the United States on May 28, 1976. Executive Order 11,917, amending Executive Order Number 11,643 of February 8, 1972, relating to environmental safeguards on activities for animal damage control on federal lands on May 28, 1976. Executive Order 11,918, compensation for damages involving nuclear reactors of United States warships on June 1, 1976. Executive Order 11,919, delegating authority of the President to concur in designations of commissioners, United States Parole Commission on June 9, 1976. Executive Order 11,920. Establishing executive branch procedures solely for the purpose of facilitating presidential review of decisions submitted to the President by the Civil Aeronautics Board on June 10, 1976. Executive Order 11,921, adjusting emergency preparedness assignments to organizational and functional changes in federal departments and agencies on June 11, 1976. Executive Order 11,922, amending Executive Order Number 11,077 of January 22, 1963, entitled Administration of the Migration and Refugee Assistance Act of 1962, on June 16, 1976. Executive Order 11,923. The Honorable Francis E. Malloy, Jr. and Robert O. Waring on June 17, 1976. Executive Order 11,924. Exemption of Arthur S. Fleming from mandatory retirement on June 29, 1976. Executive Order 11,925. Promotion of Navy and Marine Corps officers from below the appropriate promotion zone on June 29, 1976. Executive Order 11,926. The Vice Presidential Service Badge on July 19, 1976. Executive Order 11,927, amending Executive Order number 11,861 as amended, placing certain positions in levels 4 and 5 of the Executive Schedule on July 22, 1976. Executive Order 11,928, exemption of Herald Counsel from mandatory retirement on July 26, 1976. Executive Order 11,929, incentive pay for enlisted members of the uniformed services who are involuntarily removed from aerial flight duties on July 26, 1976. Executive Order 11,930, performance by the Federal Energy Office of Energy Functions of the Federal Energy Administration on July 30, 1976. Executive Order 11,931, extending diplomatic privileges and immunities to permanent observers to the Organization of American States and to members of their diplomatic staffs on August 3, 1976. Executive Order 11,932, classification of certain information and material obtained from advisory bodies created to implement the International Energy Program on August 4, 1976. Executive Order 11,933, termination of the Federal Energy Office on August 25, 1976. Executive Order 11,934, amending the Generalized System of Preferences on August 30, 1976. Executive Order 11,935, citizenship requirements for federal employment on September 2, 1976. Executive Order 11,936, the President's Commission on Olympic Sports on September 8, 1976. Executive Order 11,937, relating to appointments to the Quetico Superior Committee on September 10, 1976. Executive Order 11,938, relating to adjustment of cost of living allowances and post-deferentials on September 29, 1976. Executive Order 11,939, basic allowances for quarters on September 30, 1976. Executive Order 11,940, continuing the regulation of exports on September 30, 1976. Executive Order 11,941, adjustments of certain rates of pay and allowances on October 1, 1976. Executive Order 11,942, exemption of Ashton C. Barrett from mandatory retirement on October 22, 1976. Executive Order 11,943, amendment of adjustments of certain rates of pay and allowances on October 25, 1976. Executive Order 11,944, authorizing delegation of authority to the Secretary of the Treasury with respect to the Northern Mariana Islands on October 25, 1976. Executive Order 11,945, physical fitness and sports on October 25, 1976. Executive Order 11,946, White House fellowships on October 25, 1976. Executive Order 11,947, reports and investigations relating to the administration of the Trade Agreements Program on November 8, 1976. Executive Order 11,948, continuance of certain federal advisory committees on December 20th, 1976. Executive Order 11,949, economic impact statements on December 31st, 1976.
Pauline's Pizza, where we
Good
deliver
evening,
happiness one slice at a time. What's your craving today?
Yeah, hi. Is Seymour there?
Oh, Seymour. I think he might be busy making our special pies. But hey, why not swing by the pizzeria? We've got a pie with your name on it. Anything else I can help you with?
I was looking for Seymour Butts.
Ah, I see. Well, if you're looking for Seymour Butts, he might be hiding behind a pepperoni slice. Anything else I can do for you today?
No, that's it.
Hi, I'm Terrence, a marketing professional with a passion for helping your business grow smarter and faster. Here at DaBomb Digital Media, based right here in Atlanta, Georgia, we specialize in bringing your vision to life. Whether you're launching your first website or reimagining your entire digital presence, we've got you covered. From modern website design and search engine optimization to setting up your own AI-powered agency tools, we deliver innovative solutions that keep you ahead of the curve. Ready to unlock your business's full potential? Let's build something remarkable together. For more information, visit our YouTube channel. Just search DaBomb Digital Media on YouTube and start exploring tips, success stories, and everything you need to elevate your brand.
Good evening, truth seekers. As we look back on the year 1976, we find ourselves in a moment of profound reflection on who we were, what we endured, and the decisions that shaped a nation still healing from trauma. That year marked America's bicentennial, 200 years since independence. Fireworks filled the sky, but beneath the celebration was a country still recovering from Watergate, inflation, a chaotic exit from Vietnam, and a crisis of confidence in our government. President Gerald Ford, who had not been elected to the presidency or vice presidency, was the man tasked with steadying the wheel, and steady it he did. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't theatrical, but he was deliberate. Ford issued over 50 executive orders in 1976, each one revealing how he governed, cautiously, pragmatically, and always with an eye on preserving institutional integrity. Let's talk about a few examples. When Ford signed Executive Order 11,905, it marked the first major public limitation on the CIA, explicitly banning political assassinations. In the wake of the Church Committee's revelations, this wasn't just symbolic, it was an inflection point. It told the world the United States was trying to put away its shadowy past and recommit to transparency. That same mindset ran through other orders like EO 11914, which for the first time addressed discrimination against the handicapped in federally assisted programs. It was a quiet but crucial step toward disability rights, a movement that would later explode with the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990. And then there were orders like Executive Order 1921, strengthening emergency preparedness, or Executive Order 1940, continuing export controls amid a volatile global economy. In a time of energy crises and geopolitical tension, these decisions mattered. They didn't always grab headlines, but they shaped policy frameworks still in use today. Not every order was a triumph. Some, like the internal restructuring around the Federal Energy Office and the shifting of intelligence oversight, were complex and stirred debate. Critics said Ford moved too slowly on economic reform, and some of his delegations of authority, like Executive Order 11,912 on energy policy, lacked the boldness many hoped for in the face of oil shocks and price instability. But make no mistake, Ford's executive orders in 1976 showed a president trying to govern not by force, but by rebuilding public trust. He didn't just issue commands, he laid groundwork. Some of it bloomed, some of it didn't, but all of it was part of the healing process. Now, as we prepare to dive deeper into that pivotal year, I want us to look closer at the top 10 executive orders of 1976, the ones that truly moved the needle, that protected liberties, redirected policies, or sparked debates that still echo today. Let's take a look together. Let's take a serious look back at 1976, not just as a year of national celebration, but as a turning point where leadership, law, and legacy were quietly being rewritten. The context, it was the bicentennial of the United States, 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Red, white, and blue was everywhere, but the soul of the country was still healing. Trust in the presidency was damaged from Watergate. The Vietnam War was over, but its psychological toll lingered. The Cold War was chilling the edges of every diplomatic conversation. And the economy, stagflation. That strange beast where prices went up, but jobs didn't keep up. That year, the Concorde flew its first commercial flight, Apple Computer Company was founded by two guys named Steve. And the U.S. and Soviet Union were walking the delicate balance of détente. And in the White House sat Gerald Ford, never elected president or vice president, but charged with restoring faith in democracy. Top 10 executive orders of 1976, Ford's legacy in law. Top 10 executive orders of 1976, President Gerald R. Ford. Number 1, EO 11905, United States Foreign Intelligence Activities, signed February 18, 1976. This was the first executive order to impose government-wide controls on intelligence gathering by the CIA, NSA, FBI, and military agencies. It banned political assassinations, required presidential review of covert operations, and established the Operations Advisory Group to oversee secret intelligence activities. This was the first public recognition by the U.S. that intelligence power needed checks. Why it mattered. Post-Watergate and Vietnam. Backlash following the Church and Pike Committee investigations, 1975, Americans learned the government had spied on civil rights leaders, journalists, and anti-war activists. EO 11905 was Ford's effort to reassure the public that the abuse of power was being addressed. Formal oversight begins. The order introduced new accountability structures. For the first time, the CIA had to report major covert actions to the National Security Council, initiating a framework that later evolved into the legal basis for FISA courts and the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Modern relevance, EO 11905 is the ancestor of today's intelligence debates. Mass surveillance, drone strikes, and privacy versus security in the digital age. It laid the groundwork for laws debated after September 11th, Edward Snowden's revelations, and the ongoing concerns over AI-driven surveillance. Educational discussion point. How much secrecy should a democracy allow its intelligence agencies? Was Ford right to allow secret operations with more oversight, or should covert action be entirely public? Number 2, EO 11914, non-discrimination with respect to the handicapped. Signed April 28, 1976. This order prohibited discrimination against individuals with disabilities in any program or activity receiving federal funding. It instructed federal agencies to take steps to ensure equal access and fair treatment for disabled individuals in employment, education, transportation, and more. Why it mattered. Bridge to the ADA, 1990. Though modest in scope, this EO was one of the first federal commitments to disability rights, directly influencing the Rehabilitation Act, Section 504, and later, the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA. Federal responsibility. Executive Order 11914 made it clear that if the government funded a program, it had a responsibility to ensure equal treatment, essentially setting a precedent that civil rights applied to physical ability just as much as race or gender. Enduring legacy. Today's visible accommodations, wheelchair ramps, closed captions, braille signage, accessible classrooms, and buses, all stem from the principles encoded here. It also helped birth the disability rights movement, led by groups like ADAPT. Discussion point. Why did it take so long for disability to be treated as a civil rights issue? How do we still fall short? Number 3, EO 11921, Emergency Preparedness Assignments. Signed June 11, 1976. Ford's EO 11921 updated how federal departments would function in the event of nuclear war, civil disorder, or national emergency. It updated older Cold War policies for a new era and built a continuity of government COG system to ensure America could survive catastrophic events. Why it mattered? Cold War climate. With the U.S. and the Soviet Union still in tense diplomatic competition, the risk of nuclear war felt real. EO 11921 was part of a larger strategy to keep the government functioning even if Washington, D.C. was wiped out. Blueprint for Crisis Response, Executive Order 11921, assigned each federal agency with specific emergency duties, a concept that remains at the heart of modern disaster response, especially in the operations of FEMA, DHS, and state emergency systems, used in real events. The logistics plans inspired by this EO helped during the 9/11 attacks, Hurricane Katrina, and the COVID-19 pandemic, events where continuity of leadership, military coordination, and resource distribution were tested. Discussion point. Should the government be allowed to temporarily suspend freedoms or shift power during an emergency? What are the risks of planning for doomsday? Number 4, EO 11912, Delegating Energy Policy Authority. Signed, April 13, 1976. This order gave federal agencies specific roles in energy conservation and planning. It sought to improve fuel efficiency, reduce federal energy usage, and promote national conservation strategies in direct response to the 1973 oil crisis and fears of energy dependence. Why it mattered. Post-oil embargo. Landscape. Just a few years earlier, OPEC cut oil exports, creating gas shortages and massive price hikes in the U.S. Executive Order 11,912 was part of a national push to become more energy independent and smarter with consumption. Fuel efficiency standards begin. This EO laid the groundwork for federal fuel efficiency programs like CAFE, Corporate Average Fuel Economy, still in place today and constantly updated by the EPA and DOT. Precursor to green government, this order was an early recognition that climate and energy were connected. It inspired later reforms under Clinton, Bush, Obama, and Biden, pushing towards solar, electric fleets, and green building codes. Discussion point. What does national security have to do with energy policy? Why is conservation a government responsibility? Number 5, EO 11940, Regulation of Exports, signed September 30th, 1976. This executive order renewed and expanded U.S. authority to regulate the export of sensitive goods like weapons, electronics, and technology to foreign nations, especially communist bloc countries. Why it mattered. Cold War containment, the U.S. feared that exporting advanced tech, like computing components or aviation tools, could help enemies build missiles or surveillance systems. EO 11940 kept sensitive technology in American hands. Modern legacy in China and Russia. Today's bans on exporting semiconductors to China, nuclear materials to Iran, and weapon systems to Russia all build on export policies like EO 11940. Business versus security debate. Export controls often anger big companies that want global profits, but they also prevent adversaries from gaining military or economic superiority. Discussion point, should the government control what companies can export? When does profit become a national security risk? Number 6, EO 11945, Physical Fitness and Sports, signed October 25th, 1976. This EO revitalized the President's Council on Physical Fitness, expanded youth outreach, and promoted public participation in exercise, wellness, and team sports. Why it mattered. Post-Vietnam health crisis, America in the 1970s faced obesity, mental health stigma, and rising sedentary lifestyles. EO 11945 pushed the government to treat health as a national strength, not just a personal issue. School and military fitness. Ford's order helped standardize fitness expectations for public schools, federal employees, and even military recruitment, which was struggling with physical readiness post-draft. Mental health awareness begins. Though focused on physical health, this EO also helped spark the early conversation on exercises linked to mental wellness, still foundational in today's youth sports and fitness initiatives. Discussion point, should the federal government promote personal health and fitness, or is that an individual's responsibility? Number 7, EO 11948, Continuance of Federal Advisory Committees, signed December 20th, 1976. This EO extended dozens of federal advisory boards covering issues from minority business and civil rights to environmental policy and education. Why it mattered. Knowledge equals power. Advisory committees brought in experts, professors, scientists, and civil leaders to give feedback on government programs, ensuring informed, balanced policies. Diversity of voices. Some of these panels specifically gave a voice to Black, Latino, Indigenous, and female leaders, creating momentum toward inclusive policymaking. Still around today, boards like these still help craft policies on AI, public health, agriculture, education, and more. They are the unsung backbones of executive decision-making. Discussion point, should unelected advisory boards influence government policy? Who gets to decide who's an expert? Number 8, EO 11949, Economic Impact Statements, signed December 31, 1976. This required federal agencies to analyze the economic impact of new regulations before implementing them, making sure government decisions don't harm the economy more than they help. Why it mattered. Birth of cost-benefit analysis. Executive Order. 1149 institutionalized the idea that the government must weigh benefits and costs, a principle now baked into all federal rulemaking via the OMB and GAO. Tamed government overreach. Agencies could no longer roll out sweeping regulations without proving they were economically justified. This made policymaking more deliberate and data-driven. Today's relevance. This is still used when creating new rules on climate emissions, labor wages, or healthcare programs. It's the foundation of regulatory budgeting. Discussion point, should saving money outweigh moral good? Should economic analysis stop life-saving policy? Number 9, EO 11907, Export Administration Act, Oversight, signed March 1st, 1976. Refined procedures for limiting export of militarily sensitive technologies under the Export Administration Act, especially to communist or embargoed nations. Why it mattered, strategic materials control. Help define categories of dual-use technology, tools that could be used for civilian or military purposes.
Some write history with blood, some with laws, but the sharpest stroke comes from the pen. Executive power ain't just a tool, it's a weapon wielded by the few, affecting the many. They sign it, we live it. They order it, we obey it. Here, watching, digging, remembering. From the plantation to the proclamation, from internment camps to civil rights stands, from surveillance laws to student loan draws. Order can change your life, and you might not even know it, but now you do. So stay locked in, stay woke, stay sharp. We ain't just talking about power, we tracking it. Executive Order Watch, and we ain't blinking.